Chinese leader Xi Jinping flies to Moscow to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin, his first visit since Russia invaded Ukraine. It's a powerful show of Xi's emboldened diplomatic ambitions and Beijing's support for Moscow. China's foreign ministry said the country's, quote, proposition boils down to one sentence, which is to urge peace and promote talks. Beijing has tried to present itself as a neutral peace broker on Ukraine, publishing a position paper last month calling for a political settlement, and casting Xi as a global statesman with fresh momentum after helping Saudi Arabia and Iran broker a historic deal to restore diplomatic ties. But Western leaders are skeptical of Beijing's portrayal as a mediator. Xi and Putin declared a no-limits partnership last year when Putin visited Beijing for the Winter Olympic opening ceremony. Xi has met Putin in person 39 times since becoming China's leader, even exchanging gifts, including pandas. China has refused to condemn the invasion or even call it an invasion. Instead, Beijing has parroted the Kremlin's misinformation while blaming NATO. On China's heavily censored social media, it's all hearts and thumbs up emojis in response to the government's official post about the state visit, with comments like, "Hope Russia will win soon," "Hope there will be world peace," and "Long live China-Russia friendship." Beijing has also strengthened economic and military ties with Moscow by boosting trade and holding frequent military exercises. Western officials have raised concerns that China may be considering providing Russia with lethal military aid. Beijing has denied the accusation. Last month, Putin told China's top diplomat Wang Yi in Moscow that relations between their countries are reaching new milestones. The two nations, bound together by their shared vision for a new world order, no longer dominated by the West. And while Xi has spoken to Putin multiple times since the invasion, virtually and in person, he's not yet had a single phone call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Though Ukraine's presidential advisor says negotiations about a potential Zelensky-Xi conversation are ongoing. As Xi heads to Russia, the ability of China to help resolve the conflict hangs in the balance. Selena Wang, CNN, Beijing.
I want to turn now to China. This week, Chinese President Xi Jinping will meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. Of course, these two leaders will discuss Ukraine as China continues to try to portray itself as a neutral party that could be an honest peace broker. Now, you sit on the House Committee on China. What strategy do you think Xi is trying to implement here?
For the last 70 years, the triangle between China, Russia, and the United States has been the most important set of international relationships in the world. And clearly right now, Xi Jinping is saddling up to Russia as it prepares to compete with the United States in the 21st century. If Xi Jinping decides to send weapons to Russia for its brutal, unprovoked invasion of Ukraine, that would be the most significant development in that war since the invasion itself on February 24th. And the United States and its allies need to be prepared to respond with severe sanctions and international condemnation, whether those arms sales happen overtly or covertly, because China does have a long track record of covert arms shipments over the last 30 years. But it really just reminds us that we can't rely on the goodwill or the good judgment of Xi Jinping. He is bent on a world order in which China is at the top of a hierarchy. It's in direct competition to the rules-based international order where might does not make right that the United States helped put together after World War II. And we've got to defend it forcefully on the world stage. Economic alliances, initiatives to strengthen democracy, diplomacy and security initiatives. We need to do all of this with countries like Nigeria, India, Brazil, Mexico, the rising nations of the global south, to build a web of alliances against the Chinese Communist Party.
Well, on that topic, you were recently part of a U.S. delegation that traveled to Taiwan. So what are the geopolitical implications of Xi and China potentially trying to get more involved in the Ukraine war?
Taiwan crystallizes the threat from the Chinese Communist Party. And the United States, one, needs to continue to send arms to Taiwan as it prepares its strategy of defense in depth against the potential Chinese invasion. We should also work with Taiwan on their energy security. Right now, they have 2 to 3 weeks of energy reserves. That's not a good situation to be in when you're an island faced with an amphibious invasion or a blockade for that matter. And finally, and this really applies to Taiwan, but everywhere else in the world, especially in democracies, we have got to do a better job of countering disinformation and propaganda. We should be supporting local journalism efforts. We should be holding the social media companies to account for how they allow disinformation and deepfakes to propagate, because the Chinese are launching concerted propaganda efforts throughout the world.